Hello, Morongo Basin, and listeners around the world online at Z107.7fm.com. Here is the Z107.7 local news for Thursday, April 16th, 2026. A man in Joshua Tree was arrested on suspicion of a hit-and-run collision hours after he was reported for assault. On Monday at approximately 1:45 a.m., Morongo Basin's sheriff's deputies responded to a call at a home in the 61,400 block of Verbena Road in Joshua Tree. They say that a victim called 911 and alleged that Jeremiah Rivers, 22, had assaulted them at their residence with his hands, feet, and a knife. Deputies say that the victim sustained minor injuries and denied medical care. No arrests were made at that time. Deputies allege that after the assault, Rivers rear-ended another vehicle near the intersection of 29 Palms Highway and Lear Avenue in 29 Palms. Deputies say he fled the scene and that victim declined medical care. 5 hours later, at approximately 6:30 a.m., sheriff's deputies returned to the home on Verbena Road and took Rivers into custody. Jeremiah Rivers was arrested for investigation into a hit-and-run collision resulting in property damage, threatening a crime with the intent to terrorize, 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, and 2 counts related to driving under the influence of alcohol. He is being held at the West Valley Detention Center on $350,000 bail. Last night, the Morongo Valley Community Services District Board of Directors met in regular session. They discussed a serial fire starter, along with the district's audit draft and progress with collaboration with a nearby fire district. Reporter Gabriel Hart joins us with this recap.
For Fire Chief's report, Chief Catalbiano said out of 52 calls this past month, 8 calls were made to a specific residence where a resident had been consistently starting unlawful fires. Recognizing the frequent occurrence, one attendee stated an hour before the meeting, he witnessed the sheriff approach the same resident outside his house, who was then handcuffed and taken in. Chief Catalbiano confirmed the man was in police custody but could not comment further on the incident. The CSD's audit draft was reviewed and discussed among the board, which Finance Director Johnny Tolbert said he saw, quote, no major issues with the audit. With President Christina Gorky absent for the meeting, the board approved the audit draft 4-0. There were multiple reports of progress on the recent partnership between the Morongo Valley Fire Department and the Arrow Bear Lake Fire Department. Regarding the problematic Type 1 fire engine that continues to evade diagnosis, Arrow Bear Lake Fire Chief Paul Lindley gave multiple suggestions, one of which would be to sell it or trade it for a Type 2 that would be better overall for the rougher terrain of Morongo Valley. Overall, Chief Lindley reported he and Chief Catalbiano have, quote, hit the ground running, recently meeting with Justin Marino of Desert Region Fire Safe to discuss grant qualifications and availability, including discussions with Copper Mountain College for the Instructional Services Program. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Gabriel Hart.
The Bureau of Land Management, California Desert District, has announced seasonal fire restrictions on public lands for San Bernardino County. Online news editor and Smokey Bear Fan Club member Robert Hayden picks it up from here.
Seasonal fire restrictions on public lands will remain in effect from April 15th to October 29th unless conditions allow it to be dropped sooner. The elevated restrictions apply to activities involving campfires, controlled flame devices, recreational target shooting, and smoking on public lands. Recreational target shooting on BLM public lands is prohibited under the restrictions. Steel-jacketed rounds and metal targets can easily spark and ignite a fire. Tracer and incendiary rounds are always prohibited on public lands, but restrictions do not impact hunting. Building, attending, maintaining, or using a campfire, charcoal, coal, or wood stove outside of a developed campground is also restricted without a valid California campfire permit. And as always, all fireworks are prohibited in San Bernardino County. If you have an OHV, make sure it has a spark arrestor on it and it's in good working order. And the restrictions and rules around campfires and other open flames is mostly just common sense. When in doubt, do what Smokey says and make sure your fire is dead out. It's ramping up to be a possibly difficult fire season with a bumper crop of invasive weeds and dry conditions since this winter. Over 84% of wildfires are caused by humans, meaning they're 100% preventable. Trust me, that math checks out. So keep our desert safe and our skies clear this year and do your part to prevent wildfires on our public lands. Reporting for Z107.7 News, I'm Robert Hayden.
The High Desert Nature Museum invites creators of the Morongo Basin to see inspiration where others see trash during their upcoming Tetra Pak Intaglio printing workshops. Tetra Pak intaglio printing is an eco-friendly twist on traditional printmaking that elevates discarded food packaging into a visually expressive printing plate able to produce finely detailed images in a range of tones and textures. The workshops aim to accommodate artists of all skill levels. There are 2 workshops happening. The first is tomorrow. The second is May 1st from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. They ask that you register ahead of time at highdesertnaturemuseum.org or in person. After 7 decades of hosting outdoor entertainment in 29 Palms, Smith's Ranch Drive-In is throwing an anniversary party, and you are invited. Reporter Heather Clisby has more.
In 1956, America was in love with 2 things: cars and movies. The combo led to a peak of drive-in movie theaters in this country, over 4,000 that year. It was also the same year that Smith's Ranch Drive-In opened in 29 Palms, featuring The Man with the Golden Arm, starring Frank Sinatra. Currently, there are just 280 to 335 of these precious theaters left in the United States, making our local drive-in an especially treasured gem. This coming weekend, April 17th and 18th, the original family will host a community party to celebrate 7 decades of cinematic joy. On both Friday and Saturday nights, the party begins at 5 p.m. with the free movie screening at 8 p.m., featuring, once again, The Man with the Golden Arm. There will be ponies and mechanical bull rides for $20. For the kids, there will also be face painting, train rides, and sand art. The snack bar will be open. It all began with Bill and Thelma Smith, pioneering homesteaders who created Smith's Ranch and honored with one of the city's famous murals on Adobe Road depicting family history. Their granddaughter, Sherry Foose, who now runs the theater with her husband Steve, does not recall a single day of her childhood that did not involve the drive-in.
My whole life. When I came home from the hospital, I went to the drive-in. I've been there my whole life. Luckily, I got out a few times, but my grandfather homesteaded Smith's Ranch originally, and then my mom and dad actually built the drive-in 70 years ago this month. It's only 70 years, but 70 years this month. It is when it opened. And then my mom and dad ran it for several years. My brother and his wife ran it for about 25 years or so. And then after my brother died and my sister-in-law didn't want to do it anymore, my husband and I started running it for the last 2 years or so.
Sherry's mother, Del D. Clemens, age 90, still keeps tabs on the theater that she and her husband Art launched 70 years ago and will also be celebrating this weekend. There have been changes over the years. The famously heavy metal speaker boxes were replaced in the early 1980s with a car radio broadcast on 89.1 FM. As luck would have it, the theater had to close for an extended period during the COVID shutdown for repairs on the digital projector.
The families love it, and we get people, from all over the world that they don't have drive-ins. So all the tourists that visit the parks, like to come because they don't have them. So they just think it's fantastic. It's really fun. It's fun to run and see that, people that haven't had that opportunity, and a lot of first-timers.
Reporting for Z107.7, I'm Heather Clisby.
Also commemorating an anniversary, the Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce is celebrating 75 years of supporting the community. The Yucca Valley Chamber of Commerce was originally incorporated in 1951. In honor of their milestone anniversary, they are holding a celebration today at Las Palmas in Yucca Valley. Expect music, opportunity prizes, local representatives, and networking with neighbors and business owners. The Mixer is happening at Las Palmas, located at 57154 29 Palms Highway in Yucca Valley, today from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Desert Oracle started as an iconic magazine focusing on the mystery and legends of the desert. Desert Oracle Radio, which saw its beginnings in Joshua Tree, is now an international phenomenon going into its 260th episode. On tomorrow's Up Close show, publisher and host Ken Lane will talk about his unique publication, his radio show, and the upcoming Joshua Tree Campfire Tales event. Join host Gary Daigneault and the inimitable Ken Lane tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for the Z107.7 Up Close show. It will be available as a podcast right after the show. And finally, the 29 Palms High School Wildcats varsity baseball team bested Coachella Valley High School on Tuesday with a final score of 7-5. The Wildcats flipped the game on its head in the bottom of the fifth, scoring 5 runs on 3 hits to take the lead. Mauricio Montado earned the win for the Wildcats. The pitcher surrendered 1 hit and 2 runs over 4 innings, striking out 7 and walking 6. The Wildcats will travel to Coachella Valley today. That's our local news. Hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 Local News, I'm News Director Jeff Harmatz.